Hello guys, this is Quardox, thanks for tuning in. Today I wanted to make a video about the newly released update from the Survive the Nights developers. It was coincidentally posted at the exact same time where I posted my video yesterday, where I was basically speculating why we hadn't any updates since I think the last 3 weeks, since the last developer update where they announced that the stress test will come up as soon as they have something ready. And today we finally, or yesterday, we finally got some information on why everything was delayed and what they were exactly doing. And I want to today go over this update and also explain some stuff a little bit more in detail, like what culling means and what double position is and how that influences everything. And I wanted to give you basically just a simple analogy, explain a little bit in detail what this means. So let's get started by looking at the post and the dev rights. Hello everyone, I'd like to start by apologizing for the delay with this post. I've been extremely busy and just haven't found the time all week. Right now, however, he's sitting in the kitchen and looking after his son, so he figured he'd take a minute to write the following update. As JB, one of the developers, mentioned in the last update, performance is absolutely critical to them and they don't want to fall into a category where only people with high-end rigs can play the game smoothly. Of course, with that attitude to performance, every little thing added, implemented into the game needs to be carefully considered, which naturally means that things can take a little bit more time. And that's what we're all experiencing right now, but in the end we will have a great game that runs on every PC and everyone will be happy, I guess. So an issue that arises is the fact they need to keep a leveling playing field between low graphic settings and high. They can't simply turn down the draw distance on details like grass and stuff. Players with low settings will gain the advantage of greater visibility. We all know that from DC, while someone with higher settings may think they're hidden. In reality, they're in open sight to people with low settings, and this is something they don't want to have in the game, so the dev goes on and writes. Another issue is that the Unity 3D engine isn't specifically made for creating large worlds. And that's the thing, because they promised a pretty large world, over 100 square kilometers, about 40 square miles. And it's just not as simple as creating just a 40 square mile island and using that as the map. The first issue that arises is the floating point precision, which causes spatial jitter when moving away from the origin point of the map, the 0 point. This causes insanely annoying jitter on things close to the camera, and the dev writes he won't go in detail about this floating point issue, and there is a lot of information out there, and I looked up this information and want to explain a little bit more in detail what exactly is the problem. And the problem is a problem of scale. Each floating point number has an exponent which determines the overall scale of the number, so you can represent either really small values or really large ones, though the number of digits you can devote for that is limited. Adding two numbers of different scale will sometimes result in the smaller one being eaten by the bigger one, since there is no way to fit it into the larger scale. And as an analogy for this case, you could picture a large swimming pool and a teaspoon of water. Both are of very different sizes, but individually you can easily grasp how much they roughly are. So you know, when you hear a teaspoon, you know exactly what amount that could be, and when you hear a swimming pool, you have a picture in your head and an amount of water that can fit into this swimming pool. And if you pour the teaspoon into the swimming pool, however, will leave you still with roughly a swimming pool full of water. So that doesn't change. What this means, basically in one sentence, the further you are away from the origin in the map, the 0 point, the longer the number gets. And when you have movement that is very small, there are mathematically not enough places behind the comma to exactly pinpoint the location, and that results in jittering textures on screen. Simply said, because there is no 100% exact location. I hope you got this analogy. It's just, imagine when you have 0.1 and 0.2 and you have like a small dot between it, you know, you cannot really say where it is exactly, and that results for us in a graphical jittering on screen. And then there is the problem, and I will just touch on it very briefly, is the binary versus decimal representation. So a number like 0.1 can't be represented exactly with a limited amount of binary digits. This is just a fact we have to accept. It's hard to get an analogy for that, but you can think of it. I try to explain it, and it's basically the same problem why you can't represent 1/3 in a decimal number, because then to get the exact value you need to repeat the 3 behind the comma indefinitely, and that's basically the problem with binary versus decimal. So how can you overcome this problem that the developer writes? He explains it briefly. They have found a solution by recentering the world at distant steps away from the origin. So every X amount of meters in the world and everything is reset to another origin point while feeding the server update information with the offset, which keeps everything in synchronization, which is a vital requirement for a stable multiplayer. So that is pretty awesome that they actually got a solution, and you can expect when we finally get the stress test that we can actually play lag free, and that is absolutely beautiful. The next issue the developer goes on, writes with using Unity is their culling system, which is very good, but not specifically designed for these large amounts of world. So when the devs started developing the world, they thought perhaps naively that culled meant that the target in-game, that would be an object, a light source, a player, a script, uses no resources. While working with this, they found out that as they continued to develop and add additional design, more and more performance was being drawn by the culling, and they spent a little time thinking and investigating why this was happening, and soon they realized that the objects are being culled by Unity still needed to loop through these objects to see what and what not should be culled, and that in every single frame. So while having objects culled is certainly much better for performance than having it rendered while not needed, multiplying it by the kind of scale of our world makes the performance draw way too significant. Once they figured out what was causing the issue, the frame-by-frame culling, they immediately set to work on creating a culling system which essentially grids out the world into different sectors, and that we see on this beautiful picture they posted with the last developer update. I didn't understand exactly what that meant, but now we have the explanation right in front of us. While the player is standing in, let's say, sector 5, Sector 1 to 4 and 6 to 64 are inactive. The devs wrote disabled, but I'm pretty sure they mean inactive because they follow up with an explanation with what inactive means. In Unity, when something is set to inactive, it uses very little to zero resources. While they're still using Unity's culling, it's only cycling through one sector at a time, and that saves a lot of performance. And that is absolutely great. Now that the performance issue is resolved with the spatial jitter and culling, he started wondering if they could possibly extend the system so that larger sectors could have like child sectors with smaller objects inside them. This includes things like bushes, rocks and other small props that don't need to be rendered until you are very close. He figured that it could also potentially contribute resolving issues mentioned above with having every player on a level playing field, while still allowing different graphic settings for every specific computer, for people with low specs as high specs and ultimate machines. So a long story short, and some delays later, this system is now in place and seems to be working extremely well. So that's some good news, guys, for us. The devs, from my perspective, did again an awesome job. Not only did they stun us with a great concept video, but they're actually showing right now that they have the skills and they can fix things if they're wrong. So this alone tells me that the game, when it actually launches, will be a very stable build, and I can just say thank you. I know not every fan can thank you, but I think all the guys that understand what is actually going on behind the scenes with programming stuff will appreciate that very much. And I just know I do. So again, thanks guys. The devs team even confirmed that while you will be able to lower the graphic settings in terms of texture resolutions and other non-game changing stuff, every player will ultimately be playing in a fair environment. So let's say you lie in the middle of a grass field. From your perspective, you're covered by grass and bushes. You feel pretty safe and you're quite sure no one can see you. From the other perspective, if your sniper has you zoomed in from a kilometer away, he can see you, like in games Like they see, basically what he sees is a plain green texture with you, the player, on it, because the player is the only thing that is rendered at this distance. And in Survive the Nights we will not have the same problem. So it's not a game that is focused on PvP. We all know it's focused on group play against zombies, but I think that will help a lot to have even more immersive gameplay than we already have. I'm absolutely amazed by this update, and all the speculations I made in the video yesterday were just crazy and wrong. It was basically a filler video, so just disregard that. You don't even have to watch it. Now that we know for sure what they were working on, it's just not necessary. You go back and watch that. So for now, all you dirty campers out there can feel safe and sound until we figure out a new strategy to find you. And that brings the developer update to a close. I'm still pretty excited and can't wait until we can finally hop in and play something. And I just hope that devs get back to me on the zombie pictures I were asking for. So maybe we get an update from the developers themselves. I say it in every video, but I'm not giving up. I hope to show you something exclusive maybe soon. If not from this game, I also want to mention here, I have a game coming up you will be stunned by, so make sure you keep to my channel, you will not regret it, I can just promise you that. And for all of you impatient little kids out there, I just want to say, please hold yourself together a little bit longer. I know you're excited, you want to hop in with your friends and play, you want to have fun, you want to troll, and you want to make cool videos and stuff. And we can do that, and now we even have a better frame set for that. So most importantly, they wanted you all to be aware that while they know that they're behind schedule, that they're trying to do things right from the beginning. And that is rather fascinating, because who does that anymore, you know? We get games that are so broken you can barely play them and have so many game-breaking bugs in them. But no, this developer said, no, we don't release a shit version to Steam, we take the time we need, we make it awesome, and you know what then happens? All the people that played the first time, word of mouth will travel so far and this game will get so big, and with that, you know, they get even more money and fans, and they can implement a new feature and a new feature every week, maybe work on the side on a second big main island that they can tangle together with their awesome culling system they created. So I'm really excited, guys. All in all, it's a great update. Glad they are building a frame set that is awesome, and I'm still waiting on the response, as I said, for zombies. So if your dev guys are watching, please give me something exclusive here. The guys wanted to see something exclusive. And with that being said, thanks for watching. Subscribe for more. More Star Wars is coming too. And as I said, an awesome other game. Until next time, I'm Quardox, HEB, out.